My cheating ex-wife's life fell apart after she left me for her affair partner, and now my family is pressuring me to meet her, hear her out, and take her back. Posted by you/AmazingAhole. I know you're going to say it's fake and that it sounds like a Hallmark Christmas movie. Honestly, I wouldn't believe it either if it hadn't happened to me. So, if you can't believe it, just pretend and give me advice anyway like I'm a real person, because I am. I, 32M, met Sarah, 30F, in grade school in our small town. She was my first everything, girlfriend, love, and eventually, wife. We both went to college together, and after I graduated, we got married when I was 23, and she was 21. Sarah was still finishing her degree, and I worked hard to support both of us while she completed her studies. When she got her first job, I was so proud of her. It felt like all our sacrifices and hard work were paying off, and I thought we were on our way to building a life together. For 2 years, everything seemed fine, or at least, I thought so. Then one day, I came home from work and found her packing a bag. She sat me down and told me she had been having an affair with a coworker. I was completely oblivious. She was crying and apologetic. She said she loved me but was in love with a coworker, and they had this chemistry and deep connection that she claimed she never felt with me. At the same time, she seemed genuinely apologetic and acted very guilty. She moved in with the coworker that night. Sarah made the divorce as quick and easy as possible. She didn't contest anything and took almost nothing. In the state we lived in, you can get a divorce in 10 days if there aren't any children involved. We filed the papers ourselves, no lawyer, we couldn't afford one. After it was finalized, she asked if we could be friends. I'm ashamed to say that I just broke down and sobbed like a baby in front of her, said nothing, and left. At that point, she was 23, and I was 25. A couple of years later, in early 2020, while riding out COVID in my hometown, my mom casually mentioned that Sarah had married the guy she left me for. Apparently, Sarah's parents and mine had talked about it since they're longtime friends, and Sarah's parents were hesitant about the marriage but supported her. Hearing that stung. I had done everything I could to move on, but knowing she had married her affair partner felt like reopening the wound. I told my mom, as kindly as I could, that I didn't want to hear about Sarah anymore. She understood and never brought her up again. I was broken and depressed at first, but I went to see a therapist and got on some meds. I got some certifications and, through a friend from college, landed an interview with a global consulting company. My friend was married and couldn't do the amount of travel the job required, so he pushed hard for me for the position. I started traveling around the world and pretty much worked all the time at first. On any given day, I was either in the gym, working, or having a virtual therapy session at 3 a.m. I was a dull boy. I got into incredible shape, thanks to lifting and running. Eventually, I got a long-term project in Romania and was able to meet and have relationships with women. Fast forward a few years. Recently, I had a few weeks of vacation saved up, and I wanted to spend Christmas in Reykjavik, Iceland. I went to my parents' place in my hometown for Thanksgiving with my sister and brother. Last Thursday, I was at the local independent drugstore in what passes for downtown in my hometown. It has a lunch counter like an old-fashioned drugstore. I got a cup of coffee and sat down at the counter drinking it when Sarah sat down beside me and said hello. She was super nervous and red in the face. I was shocked and just sat there looking at her. I was exploding inside, but I kept my cool outwardly. She was still beautiful. She had lost her baby face, was very fit, and maybe even more beautiful than before. She started off by apologizing for the way she ended our marriage. I told her she already apologized like 100 times when she dumped me, but she insisted that she was young and stupid and, over time, realized how much she had hurt me. She wanted to meet me later in a less crowded spot with fewer spies, small town, remember? I shook my head no and told her frankly that I didn't see what I could possibly get out of meeting with her again. That kind of took the wind out of her sails, and she deflated. She admitted it was probably more for her than for me. She said I'd get closure, not just for how she ended things, but for the kind of person she was back then. She wanted to tell me about how she'd changed, what she'd learned about herself, and what real love is. She wanted me to see that the person she'd become is someone I could respect and maybe be friends with again. I wanted to get the hell out of there, so I just told her I'd think about it. She gave me her number, and I went home. Apparently, my mother and sister had already heard about it from Sarah's mom. So now I'm a big dumb victim of some kind of big dumb Hallmark Christmas movie hit job. My sister, 29F, and mom, 55F, told me they've kept up with Sarah since our divorce and that she's changed, and I should hear her out. My dad, 56M, just shook his head and walked off. My brother, 22M, thought all of this was hilarious. I asked if he wanted to chime in, and he just shrugged his shoulders and said that since Sarah and I knew each other from when we were kids, I should at least hear her out to keep the peace between our families since we live in a small town. Personally, I do think her family would feel insulted if I didn't at least talk with her. I know for a fact that she's living with her parents now, so it seems like her life completely fell apart. I'd kind of like to get the gory details as maybe a form of schadenfreude, but it's all behind me now, and I think it would just make me sad. I guess I'm a better man now, more mature, wealthier, and fitter than I was when I was with her, but I'm still the same guy she didn't have chemistry or a connection with back in the day. So I think whatever comes out of her mouth would be BS. I think she's probably a dragon cosplaying as a princess and wants me to be her white knight. Screw that. My mom and sister are pushing hard for me to meet her, and my mom says she's afraid that if I don't at least hear Sarah out, Sarah's mom will resent her and make her social life more complicated. Let me make it clear that I have no intention of getting back with Sarah. Sarah is very beautiful, but so are the women of Romania, Iceland, and elsewhere. And they have the added bonus of not breaking my heart. I'm interested in going just to hear about what happened to her after she dumped me and to smooth things over for my folks. What do you think, Reddit? Should I go? I kind of want to. Talk me down off the ledge. Update 11 days later. Hi, I'm apparently known as the Hallmark Christmas movie guy. I'm currently writing this from Reykjavik. I have some friends I met while doing consulting work here. This time of year, the days are very short, and the northern lights are visible. Unfortunately, it's supposed to be cloudy and rainy for the foreseeable future here, so I'm out of luck with the Aurora Borealis. We're doing a Christmas pub crawl, among other things. Reykjavik is very single-friendly during the holidays. After I posted, my mom and sister kept bugging me about it for the next couple of days until I caved. I know. I made it clear to them that I had no intention of getting back together with Sarah and that I was pissed they thought there was a chance I'd get back together with someone who stabbed their son and brother in the heart. Finally, I told Sarah I'd meet her at the playground at our old school. It's a small town, so there's only one school that's kindergarten to 12th grade. When we met, I told her up front that I was just there as a favor to our parents and my sister. She acknowledged that, and we engaged in a little small talk. She told me that she had started following me on social media. I've since made it friends and family only, and she saw how I'd been all over the world and even commented on the girlfriend I had in Romania. I told Sarah her name was Monica and that we had a great time together. She then started in with the juicy stuff I wanted to hear. Unfortunately, it wasn't very juicy, just regular boring relationship crap. She started living with the guy, and it quickly became apparent that once she was with him, the relationship went from an exciting affair to a regular, humdrum relationship. She said she knew the forbidden sparks were gone the first time she had to pick up and launder the guy's skid-marked underwear. Yep, she left me for a guy who was barely toilet trained. She said she was in denial that she couldn't have thrown me away for a guy who was no good, so she doubled down by marrying him. Sarah was always very stubborn. He was apparently a good salesman and earned a lot in commissions, but he was really bad with money. They had a lot of fights about money and household chores, and finally, she caught him cheating with a coworker. Oh, the irony. She left him with a wrecked credit score. She was pregnant with his kid at the time, so she got a termination. This is something no one in our families knows about. She's been living with her parents and working at the same feed store her dad works at. She said she wanted to reconnect with me because we were childhood friends and had been each other's best friends for 17 years, and she missed me. She started on about how much therapy she'd been through and how she is a completely different person now. She wants me to know how much she cares about me, and that the girl I was best friends with is still there and blah blah blah. I can't even write this manipulative crap out anymore. I guess I'm not a nice guy anymore. I didn't want to start any kind of beef with her family or mine, so I just told her that I had also changed since she dumped me. I told her that when I touch something and get burned, I don't touch it anymore. I told her it's great that she worked on herself, but some new guy, idiot, will have to benefit from that. When I look at her, all I see is her crying, telling me she's leaving me, holding a proverbial knife with my blood all over it. In my mind, she's a person who says, "Honey, I love you, but I also love stabbing." No thank you, ma'am. I told her that if we got together, the resentment would make me treat her like crap all the time, and she didn't want or deserve that. I told her good luck in her future endeavors and that I hope she keeps up with her changes. I mentioned I had to leave to go to Iceland for Christmas. Yes, I was bragging. She was tearing up and trying not to let me see her cry, and I pretended not to notice. Dad was disappointed I caved to Mom and my sister. He made it seem like I failed the test of manhood. I told my mom and sister not to expect any wedding bells or grandchildren/nephews anytime soon. My brother called me a simp, so I had to wrestle him. He got me in a headlock. The guy's getting too big, and I held back too much. I left for Iceland the next day, and I'm staying here until the new year. Afterward, I'm headed to Budapest for a follow-up project. Sarah is not invited.